Hi everyone, thanks for joining. And just wanted to talk to you about budgeting and lease schedule. How do we divide up the budget, and how do we get bills out to the OMC members? Let's start with a real simple example. We've got a owner management company here, and they're quite small. They've got yeah, we look the unit types, and they're all houses, and they're all non-owner occupied in this case, and they're split up into two areas, Victoria and Netherville, 6 units in each of those two areas. So nice simple budget for us to look at. And we look at the schedule. The first thing is, how are we going to divide the charges? So with these 12 units, how am I going to divide out the charges? And in here you can see it's done based on the size of each individual house. So that one's 90.6 square meters, so it pays 7.612. 90 square meters pays a little bit less, 132 square meters pays a little bit more. Now that's in your lease schedule, and that will determine how that gets set up. But it's important that you do have it set up, and we support most of the categories that we can think of. We can have it as a fixed per unit charge where everybody is paying the same. We can do it based on size, which seems to be very common. We can also say fixed by type and our category. So we could, for example, say that we want to do it on the basis of we want houses are going to pay one portion, and I've only got houses in here. Apartments might be paying a different portion on there. Could be the way that we want to do it. Don't want to say that change. So we can apportion the schedule according to the percentages. You could just import those as well, but we do think it's good practice to actually have the size of the units in there and be able to track it properly. Now, that was a really simple example. In a slightly more complicated example, I'll whip over to the agency and I'll switch into a more complicated setup. In here, we have multiple schedules. And in this case, I've got an apartment-only schedule, and that one applies only to the apartments. So there's 71 units that match that, and based on total size, total of the square feet in there, and that's how it's going to get it portioned out. So we can do the schedule, and it can be a simple thing of having a single schedule. We just divide out the bills equally, or you could be a big complicated organization with 5 different schedules, different percentages for everything. We've got you covered either way, and we were able to support it. So once you got your schedule set up in the system, you can start thinking about budgets. So here's the budget for the year. Now the codes that we're going to see in here are of course customizable. You can set up your own code. You can set up your new budget codes in there. Everybody can set up their own budget codes. But let's have a look at 2024 budget here for Basel Court, and you can see that what it's doing is it's actually splitting out the budget into the apartment only budget and the estate budget for me, so that it's able to collect the service charges correctly. Now the sinking fund, we've got a rule in this OMC that says the sinking fund is going to be distributed. I think it's 75, 25, 75%, 25%, something like that. But I can put it in an amount for the sinking fund, and it's able to actually do the calculation based on the percentages of how much of that goes to the apartments, how much of that goes to the estates based on a fixed amount. And it's giving me that indicator to let me know that's gone up quite a lot on that one. The buildings insurance, that's only for the estate. Everybody pays into the estate. So let me put in a new figure for that. That's going to be 14,000. And I can create my budget like this. Only the apartments are going to pay for the lift insurance, and I can put in the amounts. Now you notice when I started there, I didn't. You can see something a little bit, got a bit more, got up quite a lot. Now, when I started here, I did actually have numbers in here because we never start for a blank sheet. When we go to do our budget, we take last year's and we just click the button to say, do you want to copy last year's budget? Start from there. Now, this one's a little bit complicated. Let's go for the simpler one. Let's move back. Let's whip over to the agent and ask him to switch into Holly Terrace for us. So this is the simpler example. And in the simpler example, when I look at my budget, I just see one column. How much is the annual charge going to be under the various different expense categories? So, and I've got that by copying the previous year's budget. And I can see that because there's no changes in here at all as yet. But let's say that one's going to go up by a bit. That one's going to go up by a bit. That one's going to be, let's be optimistic and hope that it's going to go down. Let's see the green arrow shows that it's going down. I produce my budget. And then obviously it needs to be proposed to the members. So I propose it to the members. And while they're thinking about it, I'm going to lock this down. Now remember, we're doing this by size. So everybody's paying a slightly different charge. So they may want to come in and have a look at the billing view where I can see that the total billing here is going to be 19,900. I actually own 2 units in here. And as it happens, they must be the same size because they're getting the same service charge. But before we voted on the budget, I can see how much my service charge is going to be, which is great. So I go back to that budget and I approve it. I approve that budget, and now I can bill it out. So it's approved. I can go in. If I look at the billing, I can see I've got a generated billing here where nothing has been billed out yet. So I just click the button, and oomph, that's my billing done for the year. Happy days. Now, one of my pet peeves is most OMCs don't do this very effectively. Most OMCs, what they're doing is they're taking an estimate, they build it out at the start of the year, and they leave it at that. I don't think you should do that, really. If you have a look at the lease, it doesn't say that people are required to pay based on an estimate of the charge. They're supposed to be paying based on what the actual charge is. So what we can do is we can come back later to our budget later in the year, and we can say, okay, this budget's already been billed out, but I want to revise it. Yeah, I'm going to change it. It's already been billed out. What I actually want to do is copy the actual figures from last year. Now, in this I don't actually have any actual figures, but I can copy the actual figures from last year. Maybe we've decided we're going to update the sinking fund, so at the same time, we can put the extra charges on there. So I've got an extra few bob in there. So I can see my total budget now is 23,400 and only 19,900 has been billed. So we can have that. So what I'm finding increasingly is that some OMCs will just on the first day of the new year bill out last year's budget. You don't need to have an AGM to bill out last year's budget. It's already been approved. If you were to have an AGM and the members declined it, you'd be billing out last year's budget anyway. So on the first day of the year, you can just go ahead, bill out the budget, get the money in, then do your accounts, get things sorted. A little bit later in the year, you can actually present your accounts. This is a real hobby horse for me because at the moment, most OMCs, not only do they have no money in the sinking fund because they're not able to bill. Actually, let me just show you that I really can. I can propose this to the members, and if they approve it, when I go to the billing, I can see that I've got a second billing here for 2024 that hasn't been billed out yet. It's for that difference of 3,500, and that's how much it's going to be for each of those units, and I can bill out the change in the charges. One of the reasons that OMCs have no money in their sinking fund is we don't have the ability to do the revised billing based on what the actual amounts were. And most of the software systems that are out there at the moment don't permit that to happen. This allows us to actually bill correctly, to get the bill out quickly based on a previous budget. You can just do it once if you want, but you can revise that budget as much as you need to through the year and send out additional bills if you need to. And it's all done touch of a button. So full budget management in there across multiple schedules, can be as complicated or as simple as you want. Custom budget codes and one button billing. That's going to make life a lot easier for the agent who's normally doing all this work. But remember, for the OMC, when something's easier for the agent, it means they've got more time to focus on managing the property and helping to build the community. That saving work for the agent is a marvelous thing for the OMC. That's how we do budgeting here in our OMC. And I hope you enjoyed the short video. Hope you can join us for the next one. Thanks a lot.